Hey, Life Fixers. Hope you're having an awesome day. Have you heard of the attachment theory? Or better yet, I should be asking you, have you listened to episode 80 where we do a deep dive on attachment theory with Dr. Gary Seiler? I've got so much good feedback on that one. People loved how practical it was and how much they really been able to understand both themselves and their children that I decided to do another episode on attachment theory. But this time we're going to go on a little of a different spin. We've got a certified relationship and love coach who is going to share with us her experience of attachment theory, both on personal level and on professional level. And I am really excited to be doing this. Thank you so much, Marie, for being here. You want to start by telling us something you did as a kid that your parents laugh about still today?
Yeah, sure. When I could barely walk, or maybe like in my first month of being able to walk, my parents took me to the beach. This was in Holland. I grew up in Holland. And it was very cold. And I got fascinated by the sea. And I started to walk towards the sea. And my father first held my hand. And then at some point was like, let's just, let her explore. And I started to run towards the sea all the way in and fell like flat on my face. And my father had to go in and sort of rescue me. And my mom was like, what? Could she walk that fast? Like, what was that? So yeah, my love for the ocean, I guess, started really young.
Do you live near the ocean now?
I do. Yeah. California. In the Bay Area. Yeah.
Okay. Oh God. Yeah. Like 20 minutes from the beach. So it's like close for people in Chicago, but like compared to you, that
Yeah.
Okay. So at what point did your love for relationships come about?
Yeah, that's a good question, because honestly, for a very long time, I thought I wasn't like suitable for relationships. I didn't do too well. I would fall in love and I would have boyfriends and be in short relationships, but I would always leave. Quite quickly. As soon as things started to become hard, I was like, oh, see you later. So I thought, well, maybe I'll just end up alone and I'll have like short relationships here and there, but probably I'm not the kind of person that will get married and be fully committed that way. That was I was pretty sure about that until maybe my early 20s or so, where I started to enter relationships that felt more serious, that touched me more deeply, and that made me realize that, okay, if I want to stay, I have to learn something different, because I kept wanting to leave. So that's where I started to get curious of why do I want to leave, and what actually happens in relationship, and how do you actually make a relationship good? So yeah, that was in my early 20s. But before that, I thought I'd just become like, a lonely single person with some animals.
What did you discover about yourself of why you constantly wanted to leave?
I discovered that it was very hard for me to stay after a certain amount of time, because I started to become afraid that if my partner would see all of me, like inherently they would be disappointment. If I started to become afraid that I couldn't fulfill my partner's need, that it would never be enough, I started to long for space and a breath out, and I didn't know how to ask for that. I didn't know how to communicate really and say, hey, I need a bit of space. So I would endure the feeling of, oh, I need space until I couldn't hold it anymore and had to leave the whole relationship. So it was really like a lack of communication there. And I also started to know more about my nervous system and what I need to feel safe, and what I need to stay open, and what I need to be able to bond, but keep feeling myself at the same time.
So where did that fear come from?
So as with many of those deep patterns, right? Like I could bring it back all the way to very, very early childhood. Basically right after my birth, I spent 2 months in an incubator because I was very premature. So connection and bonding wasn't immediate in my life. And there was always a layer between me and the outside world. So that became my safety. So a certain amount of space became safety for my nervous system. So as soon as someone would come too close, I'd be like, oh, I don't know what to do with this. I feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel attuned, right? Like when you're a little baby in an incubator and then people come, with their hands through these holes or like get you for medical exams or whatnot. That's not attuned to what a baby needs. So contact was overwhelming and never attuned to me. And it was safer to be in my little bit isolated bubble.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why, like, I know I had like a sibling also that had like a lot of medical conditions like that when they were born. And my mom keeps on saying that so many of these like so-called issues are not like massive problems, but they cause problems in life happen simply because like in the hospital, they're like, the baby's just born and 60 seconds later, the doctor like wipes them away and they're taking all their measurements and all their things.
Exactly.
And like, they don't have time to just develop that like healthy attachment that we have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we did an episode way back in episode 80 about attachment theory. It was a quite interesting episode. We really went deep into the 4 attachment styles. But it's been a while now. We're in the 300s. So it's been a long time. So both for people who have listened to the episode and need a refresher or someone who doesn't know anything about the attachment theory, can you tell us a little bit about the background and what the 4 types of attachments are?
Yes, absolutely. So originally the attachment theory comes from, I think he's called Bowlby. Bowlby.
Yeah.
He did a lot of early childhood research. He observed children basically and how they interact with their parents and follow children throughout quite a long period of time, like from being born till, early teenage, I believe.
Yeah,
so he could see patterns. He started to discover certain patterns and okay, if this happens early on, it's likely that a child will behave like that later in their lives. So he started to realize, okay, there is such a thing as imprinting very early on in our body and our nervous system, what we learn about love and how we attach and bond with other people. That is very much connected to how we were able to attach with our caretakers, right? And ever since then, attachment theory I can give you the names as he did it, but there are many schools of attachment theory right now that all use like slightly different names.
Yeah.
So I'll also just tell you what
you use. Let's hear. Okay, so what's his and what are the ones that you use?
Yeah. So what I use, what I really like is the model that says attachment and attachment styles are on a scale. So we are not just one thing, because we could have developed a different attachment with one caretaker and with the other, right? Like we could have been securely attached with our mom, but avoidant with our dad. And so depending on the partner that's in front of us, different styles will come up. And also depending on the level of stress, depending on the stage in life. And what I really love about saying it's a scale is the fact that we can grow. Like we're not one type and that's it for the rest of your life. You're doomed in your anxiety. No, actually we can grow and become more secure. That's, the secure attachment type, or the secure part of the scale is saying that you feel safe in your relationship.
So 1 second, just before you stop, is like a whole one line and like one side is secure and then there's all on the same line, or each one has their own scale?
It's almost like each one has their own scale. So you could see it in a pie, where you have different percentages. Like you could be like 13% secure and 25% avoidant. And that can change throughout your life and also change depending on the relationship that you would do the test with. Like if I were to do it with my husband now, I'll probably have a different score than I than if I would start dating someone now and I would do it in that situation. I'd probably have a different score.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I really love that model because it also allows you to see how you grow in a certain relationship and how you grow together.
Okay. So we have the secure attachment.
Yes. Secure attachment, which can be born, like if you just have, really attuned caretakers and a good, safe environment, you can be safely and securely attached. Secure attachment can also be earned. And that's sort of what we talk about. If we do the relationship work and we become more secure in our relationships, it's earned. We worked for it. we become more secure.
Okay. Now, what does that look like in a person?
So, for example, for me, I would say if I had done the test 10, 15 years ago, I would have been highly avoidant and, less secure in my percentages. But because of the work that I've done with my partner in becoming more secure, in being able to express needs, respond to his needs, create a relationship that supports both of us, if I were to do the test now, my percentage of secure attachment would be higher.
Right. But when someone has a high percentage of secure attachment, what are their actions? What does it look like? How do you identify secure attachment?
There's a basic feeling of ease and goodness in being in a relationship, the feeling of, I can just be myself. There is an confidence that I can speak my own opinions, worldviews, needs, even if they are different than the other person. So I'm able to differentiate, to say like, I'm me and you are you, and both are valid. There's a capacity to hear my partner's opinions, worldviews, needs, even if they're different from mine, without getting, super distressed. And there's the capacity to be in touch with my own feelings. There's the capacity to be empathetic to the other person. Like those are all signs of a secure attachment. And like if you were to, not do a whole checklist, I would just ask you, do you feel you can be you in your relationship? Or where do you get stressed? How much do you feel like you can come home and, sit on the couch and smile at your partner and not have extra thoughts about that whole process?
Yeah. Okay. So that's secure attachment. Okay. What is our next piece of our pie?
Avoidance, which is the coping mechanism. And like with all those attachment styles, they are really mechanisms that we learn to keep ourselves safe, right? Like it's what our nervous system has learned to do so that it doesn't have to feel completely overwhelmed and stressed.
Yeah, like you said earlier about yourself when you were in the incubator, right? It's like literally to keep it safe. Doctors literally put you in this little place to keep you separated from everyone else. So it's going to translate to other areas of your life.
Exactly. So, and I just named that because to say it's intelligent behavior, right? It's not that we're flawed or our partner is flawed. It's intelligence. So avoidant is basically when the pressure gets too much, you will want to move away. It could also happen, when you have an overbearing parent, that's too much in your face, basically, or too much doesn't allow you the independence that you need as a child and as a toddler to explore the world. If you didn't get that, it's possible you develop an avoidant attachment style. So that would look like in your relationship that if you feel like your partner comes too close, you will want to move away. You're always the one who's like, I need space. I need independence. I need some time for myself, which can be super healthy. And it can be fear-based because I got stressed because it feels like my partner is too close.
Yeah. So how does that come up in a relationship? What sort of things do people end up doing when they have a high? For example,
if their partner asks for their presence, they get stressed and will want some time for themselves. Or if the partner brings a lot of emotion or challenge, again, they feel stressed and will want to move away. The classic dynamic of the one who is pursuing the connection, who will want the connection, and the one who is fighting for space and independence. For me, it would look like basically feeling it was never enough. I could never be enough. So I better move away because my partner's need for connection was always more than mine. And I was always asking for space. I was always asking for time for myself. It could also look like being less communicative, like leading a more of an individual life. And just, it doesn't quite occur to you to inform your partner about, what you're going to do tomorrow, or like things that at some point become shared conversations or decisions. It might just not occur to you that actually might be a shared process because you're so used to taking care of yourself and doing things by yourself. Also, not sharing your own emotions, your own vulnerabilities, can be a sign of avoidant attachment.
Okay, yeah, that's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a really tough place. Like, in a way, you feel you're never going to be enough for your partner. So want that space because like you don't feel good about yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, and I'm so happy that you say that because there can be, and in some books it's about attachment, there's almost this idea that the avoidant person is a narcissist, right? Like that they don't have any heart. They just don't know how to feel. Whereas actually underneath that is so much shame often and so much perfectionism and so much not being able to live up to your own standards. So you feel so shitty about yourself. But to feel that is too much. So the only thing left to do is to shut down.
Yeah. Wow. It's like, oh, when you think about it, it's like, it's so painful. It's like, yeah. And in any of this situation, it's coming from like, people aren't doing it purposely. People are doing it because they like been hurt, been through a situation. So we want to understand them so we can work with them better. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have secure, we have avoidant. What do we have next?
Anxious.
Yes.
Yes. Anxiously attached. Anxious attached is, or often happens when a parent or caretaker wasn't consistent in their connection and in their love with you. So you had to beg for it. Like there was this, every baby obviously literally needs for their survival connection. And if it didn't come enough and it didn't come when you wanted it, you have to ask for it. Oftentimes at some point, a child, the nervous system, the body of the child draws the conclusion of, oh, clearly something is wrong with me because I'm not getting what I need. So they start pleasing. They start doing their very, very best to get that connection. Keep asking for the connection in the hope that it comes. And sometimes it comes and it feels so good, but then it's always taken away again. So they have to ask again, and they have to be better to get it again. So those are like people that are very, very busy in their mind with the partner. Whereas the avoidant person, you could say like they maybe went through that cycle, but nothing ever came. So they just shut off the whole desire in and of itself. It's like, if it's never coming, never mind. I'll just take care of myself then. So they're not busy with that other person anymore. They're just busy with themselves. But the anxious person still has that hope that it will come.
Because they got it sometimes.
Yes, I got it sometimes. So please, can we have more? Please, can we do this together? What if I give you this? What if I do that for you? Like they're very much with their attention, with their energy in the other person.
Yeah, gosh, that is so draining.
It's so draining. And it's so awful because there's this desperation of like, why don't you want to be with me?
Yeah. Gosh. Okay. So that looks like in our relationship, how does that show up?
A constant need for love and affection, and fear when they don't know what the partner is feeling, if the partner is fully committed to them, whether or not that's the case. Like that fear is very much on the surface. They must not love me, so they a lot of validation, that the partner loves them, that they're there for them, that they are consistent. A fear if there is too long of a gap in connection, like if people are dating and they don't get a message back immediately, for example, and you get very anxious, like that's a sign of that anxiety. Yeah, a lot of feeling of stress, and the stress to improve yourself in the hope that you'll get it, that you'll get the attention, that you'll get the connection. And oftentimes they're very busy with what the other partner might be thinking. Like, oh, it must be because, so there's a lot of assuming. Oh, they must not message me because they don't like me. Oh, it must be because they have another partner. Oh, so there's a lot of assuming and obsessing about the other person.
Yeah, literally like constant mind just like running all over the place and just like,
Exactly.
a minute to breathe. Gosh.
Exactly. Whereas you can see the avoidant person being like totally in their own world and being like, huh, partner? Well, oh yeah, that's right. I had a partner. The anxious person is like, my partner.
Yes. Okay. So our fourth attachment is
disorganized. And this is a style that I think was recognized a little later. Basically, this is something that happens generally only in very unpredictable, abusive households and situations where there is connection, but it's very, very, it can like switch from connection to violence very quickly. So there's very little consistency and there's a very high risk, and a lot of unpredictability in a way, like the nervous system doesn't know what to do anymore. Like, do I ask for connection? Do I move away? Like it doesn't know what to do anymore. So there is both this, I need you desperately, but I cannot have you close. Neither is safe. It's not safe to need you and it's not safe to have you close.
There's like no place to be.
There's no place to be. Exactly. Like if you never know what's going to happen or when the next explosion is going to happen, like, you keep doing your best and showing up for the connection, but then the connection can suddenly be completely boundary crossing and there's no place to be. So there's often that ambivalence and sometimes a freeze and dissociation with that as well. Like if you're being caught between those poles.
Gosh, and that shows up like how? What sort of actions do someone with a high percentage of this do?
It is it's a hard thing to be with, both with the person experiencing and with the partner, because there can be because there's so much ambiguity. Like there is the call for connection, please come be with me, but as soon as a partner comes, there's the pushing away, and sometimes the pushing away happens by creating a fight, creating a conflict, and then pleading that the other person comes back again. So begging for their presence and then creating a fight again, and then asking them to come again and creating a fight again. So there's this push-pull dynamic that's exhausting for both partners to be with.
Yeah, gosh, it's like you can never get it right for the other partner. It's like, okay, they want me, so I'm coming close, but no, they don't want me. So
exactly.
Crazy. Gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we did this in the past, we really went deep into being able to heal it and being able to supporting your partner in it or raising your kids in it. So I want to go a little bit more with the pie of how you see it. How does a person manage with all four of these like percentages in their lives? Like, how does that show up? When do you know which percent, like which piece of the pie you're currently eating and like how big your percentages are?
Yeah, good question. I mean, there are lovely tests that you can do online that just give you the questions and show you the percentage. But for yourself, a really good question to ask is, what do I do when I get stressed, basically? And particularly in relationship, you will have a different response probably, or maybe when you say, what do I do when I get stressed in relationship to my manager? What do I do when I get stressed in relationship to my mom? What do I do when I get stressed in relationship to my partner? So that's where you can, for example, if you answer with your partner, what do I do when I get stressed? I stop communicating. Then it's likely that you'll have quite a slice of avoidance in that partnership going on.
So hold on, sorry to interrupt you, but
Yeah.
it's about noticing in this specific relationship, which one of the 4 attachments do I tend to show up in?
Exactly. So it can be different in different relationships.
Okay, now how do we change it that there's most of the time we're in the secure attachment?
Yes. So how you would change it? I mean, one is recognizing. It's not even that easy to recognize, like, oh, this is a fear-based response. Like I said, I always thought that leaving when things got hard was obvious. I didn't realize it was a fear-based response. Like, no, it makes sense.
Yeah, I say self-awareness is the first step to anything. So
Right.
you just need it.
Yeah. And then the next question is, what do I need to be with this fear, with this stress? What could create safety for myself? How could I communicate that? Because what happens often when we get triggered in those responses is that we start to very much like think individually, like, oh, I have stress, so I decide I need this now. Whereas in a secure partnership, we're on the same team. We're doing it together. And if one person gets stressed, they have the opportunity to voice their stress, to be seen and heard in that, and to ask for what they need. So those I think are very relevant questions of like, okay, what is causing me stress right now? What is causing my nervous system to react in a way that my nervous system is assuming that I'm not safe? Because it's not generally.
Like, why is my nervous system assuming I'm not safe?
Yes. What is it that's happening here? I could say, like, to my partner, when you told me you were disappointment because I came home late, I suddenly had this stress again of like, oh, I'm never enough. I can't do it right for you. And that caused me to shut down and withdraw and be like, oh, this is not going to work. Maybe I have to leave this relationship, right? Like if I notice those things that very often happen on the background or like in our unconscious, I can tell my partner, and this is what I call like doing a clearing, which is let the partner know this is what happens. When you said you were disappointed with me because I came home late, I felt stress. I felt like I could never do it okay. And my reaction was to withdraw. And now I sort of feel like I don't want to be with you anymore. And the partner, if you agree on, hey, we're building safety together for us, the partner, the only thing that they have to do really is to hear and validate and acknowledge, like, oh, I hear you say when you came home late and I told you I was disappointed, that created stress for you and that now you feel like you don't want to be with me anymore. Just that acknowledgement, like I see you. And then as a partner, whether or not you agree with the situation, you can always validate. I can always say, oh, wow, if that created stress for you, yeah, it makes sense that now you don't know how to be with me. I get it. It wasn't my intention. Though I don't agree like that should be your reaction, but I get it if that's what happened. And that's what's allowing the nervous systems of both people to get regulated. So we get out of the stress cycle into what they call in trauma therapy, like co-regulation, like both of us get regulated again, which is new imprint for our body and our nervous system. Is like, whoa, they're reacting in a way that is different than what I had expected, right? Because if I had just moved away and not said anything, I would have caused more stress and they would have gotten more upset and would have gotten in a fight, et cetera, et cetera. But with a simple communication technique like that, you create safety and you create a new imprint in the body and in the nervous system that says, there is someone here who genuinely cares about me and who wants to be on the same team with me.
Yeah, exactly. Like shows you like, okay, even if I just didn't feel safe, or I'm still currently not feeling safe right now. Like you said, there's someone who really cares and I'm like working on this and I know it is possible and we could make a situation where I do feel safe instead of doing what someone with high anxious or high avoidance would do type of thing.
Exactly. Because the stress is not, I almost want to say the stress is not the problem. It is sort of the reaction or how we learn to deal with the stress that causes sort of the cycle to go into more and more dysregulated nervous systems.
I like that so much because that's with everything, not just in relationships. It's also at work, with your kids, everything else that you're doing. There's going to be stress, but
totally. Yeah. It would be really disencouraging to say, well, you just created a life without stress and then you'll be securely attached. Plus, it's not true because the nervous systems will create stress until they get healed, because that's also why, there are many reasons why we want relationship, but part of it is because we want to heal. The body wants to heal. The body wants to start to feel safe in a connection.
I like that a lot. Part of the reason of that why we want relationships is to heal.
Yeah.
It's not something that people think about often, but when you actually sit down and think about it, you realize how much truth there is in that sentence.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Whoa. That was a lot of really good stuff. I think everyone has to go back and re-listen to this episode again and really make sure they picked up everything in here, start processing and seeing where they could go and notice when they're playing in which role and what they could do to start changing that. Yes. Okay. So before we get to our final question, where could Life Fixers connect with you and learn more about you?
Yes. My website, marieannawinter.com. Also social media, Instagram at marieannawinter.
Awesome. Okay. So that will be in the show notes. And final question is, how would you describe an extraordinary relationship without using love, trust, or connection?
Two people sharing space, sharing life in mutual support, in passion, in shared vision. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. I like that so much. Yeah. And I think it really wraps up everything that you said here today. So thank you, Marie. This was fun. This was deep. This was intense, but there's so much value in here. I know the audience and I absolutely love it. Thank you. That's all for this episode of the Life Fix University podcast, but I have a huge favor to ask of you that will not only support the show, but will also help the people you love most. We are striving for 1 million downloads by the end of 2025, and we can't do this without your help. If you love this episode, please share it with 2 of your family and friends so they too can rewire their brains to have an extraordinary marriage. It was awesome spending time with you, and I'll see you on the next episode.